From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Ferris here on a Tuesday. We're going to be talking medical care this morning. Not one of the health-related shows where you're talking to a doctor, but more about how you pay for it, and especially those in the state of Tennessee that are needy or are low income, that depend on TennCare, that depend on Medicaid, the government services needed sometimes, especially to pay for child care or the children's health care. And the issue that's going on right now between what's happening in the state of Tennessee and TennCare and the Obamacare and what's happening with the feds, and whether or not their delays are too long, whether or not the state needs to be doing more. You may have seen some of the news coverage over the past several weeks where an ultimatum has been given by the feds to say, look, Tennessee, you got to start doing a better job of helping people sign up for this and getting involved with Obamacare and having a system in the state to assist the state. Kind of firing back, well, you know, we think the problem's at the federal level, not with us. Now, it can be a complex issue, but what we want to get to is how it affects people, basically, here in the state of Tennessee, and ultimately what will make the situation better, because that's what we all want. The number 737-7587. If you're on TennCare, if you're dealing with these issues, you certainly know what I'm talking about, and I invite you to join in the conversation. If you have an opinion on it, you can call in as well. But we're going to talk about it this morning with Michele Johnson, Executive Director of the Tennessee Justice Center, and it's good to have you on this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know you are very involved with this. I think you are one that would feel that there's a real crisis here when it comes to some of the care and the delays provided, especially to children in the state of Tennessee, since Obamacare kind of took effect and what's happening in the state of Tennessee. Is that why the feds are looking at Tennessee right now and saying, look, you have to do more in the state?
Yeah, so basically we're talking about the state program, the Medicaid program. Okay. And we are the only state in the nation that are falling down in three ways. The first is that there's no way to go and file an in-person application. Every other state you can go into
an office somewhere,
file an application. And that used to be the way in Tennessee until January 1. TennCare closed DHS. They closed the DHS door, Department of Human Services door. So those people don't have that option in Tennessee. The second thing is you can't, there's no computer system in Tennessee. Every other state has a computer system that processes their Medicaid applications. Not so in Tennessee. We've paid $35 million to a private contractor, and we still don't have a computer system. And the third thing is presumptive eligibility, which every other state except for us and one other have a plan for ensuring that if you show up at the hospital and you're eligible for TennCare, the hospital can go ahead and cut through the red tape and get you covered. That is not the case in Tennessee. And so that makes us an outlier, and here's how this impacts Tennesseans.
Okay. All right.
So mom has a baby. The baby needs coverage. She basically, before January 1, would go have a DHS worker at the hospital come into her room and sign her up. What happens now is they're told you can only sign up on healthcare.gov.
So yeah, meaning that the state more or less said, okay, Obamacare is in control now, so we're going to shut down all of our processing here in the state. You can go to the computer and go on the federal website.
Right,
and get it going.
And the federal website was never meant to do that. The federal website was for another population of more middle class folks. So they're supposed to catch anybody who happens upon the federal website that might be eligible for Medicaid, but they weren't supposed to be the only door to coverage. And in Tennessee, basically they are, and that means that moms, babies, folks who are very elderly and sick are waiting and waiting and waiting for care that sometimes costs them all of their savings, sometimes costs them their life.
Okay, so there are very long delays. I mean, they ultimately can go onto the federal website, and maybe eventually get the coverage they're seeking, but it takes far longer in the state of Tennessee than it would through some kind of state program at another one of the states that has something set up.
And some people still aren't enrolled. They applied in January and they're still waiting.
How many people are we talking about maybe in Tennessee affected by this?
Thousands? I think thousands. I mean, we got 26 calls in the last week of folks who are eligible and who are in this limbo land.
How bad off are you to be eligible? Again, remind me to be eligible for TennCare. How bad does it have to be?
Well, you basically have to be a baby.
Okay, children.
A pregnant woman, a parent of young children. You have to be disabled or elderly. So the very nature of this population is they're vulnerable folks, and
they're that group besides the children, but I mean income-wise.
Yes, income-wise, you basically have to be right at the poverty line.
At the poverty line.
Yeah, and so if you're a pregnant woman, you can be a little bit above the poverty line, but basically these are folks who need health coverage, and they don't have an option if there's a delay in the system to, basically to pay for the care.
Right.
They're just going without the care. So we got a call yesterday from a parent who applied in January. Baby still not covered. Baby gets sick, in and out of the hospital, in and out of the hospital. The family now owes $100,000. Well, that's not good for that family, and it's sure not good for health care infrastructure, because that $100,000 is uncompensated care.
Yeah,
for
I mean, they're not
hospitals.
going to turn the baby away, but then the fee is there. The family has that money over their head now. Gosh, they're never going to be able to pay that. And then the hospital, of course, we all know who ends up paying that then.
All of us.
Yeah,
all of us.
Because it's, as the costs are defrayed, they're going to the emergency room and such like that. So, okay, yeah, you had a case like that. Have there been other, like prenatal care as well? Does that come into play?
Prenatal care is very important, because delays in prenatal care, as you might imagine, are hugely important.
Then you get huge expensive problems later when you just deal with it now.
Yes, we had a client who went without, we were working, we're a law firm, we're working on with TennCare to get this person covered. The hospital knew the woman was covered, TennCare knew the person was covered. She got no prenatal care until she had the baby early. She was in preterm labor, and the baby ended up in the neonatal intensive care unit. Again, it's costly in a human way and in a fiscal way that the healthcare infrastructure can't afford.
So all right, and I'm wondering, I mean, when you talk Obamacare, healthcare in general, it becomes very politicized. And I'm wondering, obviously Tennessee is a very, very Republican state, and not thrilled in the state of Tennessee, many of the constituents here, with Obamacare, okay? And the lawmakers at the highest level know that. And so, maybe they decided we don't like Obamacare, we don't want to have any part of it. I'm just wondering, there are other red states certainly across the country that have a system in place. I mean, and I know that you feel strongly that the state needs to become more involved, and we don't have the governor on here with us today, but why do you imagine the state, and I guess we've seen, TennCare Director Darren Gordon yesterday was blaming the federal website for it. Is it politics? Is it cost savings for the state we just don't want to spend? Or is there an expense that this is saving us by not having the system in place? Why is this happening?
I don't know what's motivating it, but I guess for the moms and the babies that are calling our office, they don't really care what's motivating it. They just need management, and they need good government. And every other state in the nation has found a way to get past their political dislike of the other party to find a way to take care of its citizens. And that's really what the federal government asked Tennessee is, you're not perfect, we're not perfect, let's come up with a plan here. And what the state responded with yesterday was really akin to what I see at home with my 3 boys. There's a lot of lashing out, and really just the tone of it is unprofessional. It's not let's roll up our sleeves and figure out how we fix this thing. It's lashing out is really all I can say. And
nothing being done. And we'll get into that, because the ultimatum, and then the thing is, ultimately, what power does the federal government have to kind of say, here's the incentive, you do this, you're going to lose this, and who it would hurt. Let's take a quick call from Robin before we take our first break. Robin, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Robin. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I have a question. I may have misunderstood. I think you asked her a question a little while ago about who was eligible for TennCare. And I believe I heard her say that someone that was disabled was eligible. Was that correct? Or
we have to be very poor, and you have to have really severe disabilities.
Okay. Well, the reason why I'm curious is because I tried to get my mother on TennCare last year. She's only 57. She's had 3 strokes. Is on disability now. Was approved, I wanted to say December. And she absolutely has no insurance. So I guess
and that was denied?
Changed, or?
Well, it shouldn't have changed. The law shouldn't have changed. The process that would have happened last December is you would have gone to Department of Human Services, and they would have gotten your mom on.
No, well, see, I have a list. I don't have it in front of me, but I was told that since she didn't have breast or cervical cancer, she wasn't whatever the age is. She doesn't have a child in the household under the age of 18. There was a list, and she was not qualified for any of those. So that knocked her out.
Okay, because of that, the qualification. Yeah, and that's almost separate. But I mean, what qualifies you for TennCare? That's not what we're. I mean, that doesn't have to do with this situation regarding TennCare and the situation with the feds, does it? I mean, that's in the state, and it's amazing. I mean, to get on TennCare, you have to really be in dire straits, it seems, unless you're a child.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
I hear what she's saying about her mom, but apparently her mom didn't qualify. But there has not been a change, as far as you know, in some of the details as to who's qualified and who doesn't, right?
Those guidelines the criteria have not changed.
Right.
It's just running the gauntlet to get the coverage is lots harder.
I understand.
So, yeah, so if you have severe disabilities, the Social Security Department determines you completely disabled, then you could qualify. But there's a lot of you may or may not meet those criteria.
Yeah, that may be where she applies for SSI or something along those lines and see if that. Yeah, so Robin, yeah, that has not changed. So if your mother's condition hasn't and she's already been denied, then she's probably still going to be denied again. But you know, keep track of that list. The problem is if all of a sudden her mother does qualify for it, and right off the bat, let's say, wow, we did, or she's gotten, the condition's been worse, and she does qualify for TennCare. As it stands now, different than what they did last year when she was denied. All right, she goes this time thinking she's qualified. She wants to enroll.
She's supposed to go to healthcare.gov, which was never designed to meet her mother's needs.
And she'll be waiting for quite some. What's the average length of wait, or what are we hearing if you go that route?
The letter from TennCare said they acknowledged that there were long delays.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the average wait is. TennCare obviously knows, but you know, as I said, we have clients who applied in January are still not on. We have some clients who got on after 6 months, but those are a long 6 months if you have a newborn, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Either healthy or very, very sick. And they're long waits if you're pregnant and you're worried that you're going to have that baby early.
Interesting. All right, we need to take a break on that note. When we come back, we can take more calls, 737-7587, and then just get into, okay, so they gave a 10-day ultimatum, and then TennCare filed what many are saying is a defiant response yesterday to the federal government, and you know, so that ultimatum, but what can the federal government do? And right now, nothing's really changed. We'll take a break, come back, and continue our conversation on this. It's a complex thing, folks, but it does affect, just think about the very poorest of the poor, and especially children, and whether or not they can get their services in a timely fashion. We'll be back with more right after this.